Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, the Hat Person. Apologies for not posting on the main channel for quite a long time. Other than the podcast every Saturday, I really have not been posting anything. Mostly because of two big reasons. So, reason number one is life. Life has been happening. As long as I don't do this for a living, I still have some leeway to not post anything. I mean, we've gone through December, which is Christmas time and New Year's time. All of that holiday cheer and holiday celebrations have been getting in the way. And so I've been going to and fro from here to my apartment to my hometown where I'm visiting my family and celebrating with a lot of people. It's been really great. So unfortunately, I've not had the time to kind of just sit down and give myself like a week to just, work on everything. We pretty much started doing all the celebrations immediately after I finished my final semester in college. And then when I'm not doing that, I am here preparing for my university transfer. So I did get accepted to a university recently, and I'm making the preparations. There's a lot of financial issues that I'm having, but then again, who doesn't whenever it comes to trying to pay for university? And so that's the thing that has been taking a huge amount of my time. And the second main thing is that I really haven't been making videos per se. I actually have a ton of checking out videos that I've been having prepared. All of them are virtual reality videos that I've had on the pipeline for a long time. I'm just rendering them all with the footage and the webcam, and then I'm going to record a post commentary with my thoughts on the game, on top of that later on. So I'm rendering all the footage, and then I'm going to record the voiceovers later. But I'm not going to have time for that either, because this Tuesday, which is like 1 or 2 days from now, I'm going to leave again for New Year's. Like, I just came back from Christmas, and I'm going away again to a Big Bear, going to like a place with like snow and stuff, and we're gonna stay in a cabin with like a huge part of all my family members, and so it's gonna be a fun time. And again, I'm not gonna have my computer or my webcam or anything, so I'm not gonna work on any videos. But I did want to spread this particular video as soon as possible. Unfortunately, I wanted it to be like this big show. I wanted it to have like a fake award, and like, I don't know, I wanted it to be similar to how I did it last year, where like I was wearing the suit and I had like like the sideways, like the footage here and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, I'm not gonna have time for that, and I really wanted to have this video done before the end of the year. So instead, it's going to be kind of like a vlog-ish kind of format. I might add some pictures, maybe I won't, but what I really want to do is kind of to just get my thoughts out there. If you guys follow my work and my writing over at thebuttonsmashers.com, you'll know that we made a list of games of the year for the entire editorial team, and I'm part of it. I'm right there, and so if you've seen that list, you already know my top 5. However, this is going to be a top 10 with a crap ton of honorable mentions, and so I have a list right here on my computer of all of the games that I played this year, or at least the majority of the games that I played this year. And so I have a really long list of honorable mentions. I'm going to just rapid fire all of those, and then we're going to go on to the top 10. So the lower 10 are the ones that you don't know about yet, if you have read the list that I have on the site. And then I'm going to move on to the top 5 later on as well. Even then, it's just the listing. Like, there's no actual elaboration as to why that's in my list. It's just, here's the list, done. And so I thought that this would be very important. I feel like you guys would benefit from that, from me actually explaining why those games are even in my list. I feel like this year, more than any other year, I've seen so many people with such a enormously diverse list of games. It seems, I purposely try to make my list be as diverse as possible, Like, if it was up to me, it'd be all, like, the whole list would just be Japanese RPGs from, like, 10 years ago that I'm barely catching up with today. But, of course, that can't happen. And so I try to put, okay, so here's, like, a music game, here's an RPG, here's a shooter, like, I try to cover as much as possible. And so, but at the same time, have it be, like, legitimately games that I really do like, That's kind of my reasoning when I go with these lists. And so, I was going to make, like, a big show out of it with a lot of editing and all that bullcrap, but unfortunately, life and, just a lot of things, just getting in the way, university stuff, holiday celebrations, and, I don't know, just a lot of things are getting in the way, and I'm not capable of actually, making the video that I wanted to make. So instead, it's just going to be me in front of a webcam, a really good, HD 1080p webcam. But it's just gonna be me talking, and I'm going to talk about all the games that I really liked. So here we go. Without further ado, let me not waste any more time, because we really do have a lot of games to cover here. I remember like the edited video that I had for last year was like what was it, like 40 minutes, 30 minutes? Yeah, it was really long. So let's go ahead and show off all of the honorable mentions, if you will. So the honorable mentions are games that I played this year that I thought were awesome, but they didn't make the list. Usually these games are like remakes, or, like a small little iPhone game that I thought was really fun, or, like a very, I don't know, like a big point of contention for a lot of people that I seem to be enjoying. Just, smaller games that like that are really good, but, there might be a couple of things that are holding them back. Either way, these are games that I'm listing here that I highly recommend that you guys go check out, because these were like, one of the better titles that I found in 2016. So there are a ton, so I'm just going to list them off, with the exception of one particular game that I have in the honorable mentions, which is No Man's Sky. And so I just say the name No Man's Sky right now, and people go, oh, like, it seems that game, kind of like Undertale, it transformed from the most popular thing to like the most fashionably hated thing in the universe. Like, you say No Man's Sky, and it's like, oh, the one that the liars made. It's just like a lot of hate, a lot of unreasonable hostility towards that title has been created due to the game not fulfilling a lot of the expectations that people had, or, more to the point, a lot of the expectations that people seem to make up in their heads, and in my head as well. I'm not excluding myself from those kinds of thoughts and that kind of conflict. As a matter of fact, I think I feel bad, because I feel like I contributed to that with all of my hype videos that I made on my YouTube channel. So I apologize for that if I ever feel like, if I ever misled anybody, or I got somebody too excited or something that didn't actually make it into the game. But as far as I'm concerned, I wrote a review on the site about No Man's Sky, pointing out a ton of problems that I had with the game. But at the same time, I also established how I was perfectly satisfied with what I got. I was happy with what we received. I was having fun. I enjoyed it myself. I spent hours and hours and hours. I spent many, many late nights, kind of like how I am right now, just you're really playing through that game, exploring a ton of planets, scanning everything, fighting everything, trying to get all the achievements. I'm still, till this day, I'm trying to get the platinum trophy for No Man's Sky. I think I got like 2 trophies left, is the one where you have to scan all the animals in a planet, and that one is a complete hassle. I hate that, but everything else was really fun. I love, trying to, get the Atlas Stones and all that kind of stuff. Just, it was overall a very chill, very relaxing, very nice experience, because you might say and disagree that it's not a relaxing experience because you have to recharge everything, but you reach a certain point where you're just so full of everything, and you know where to get everything, you know where all the resources go, and so eventually you don't worry about that anymore. And thanks to all these brand new updates that have been coming out, the game is even more enjoyable with crafting and, like a survival mode and a creative mode. Like, it keeps expanding, and just like how I said in my review, even though the game is not in its best form now, I still have faith that one day this will be an awesome game, as long as they keep going, in the path that they're going. So there we go. That is my top, like, the number one of my honorable mentions. I think No Man's Sky is definitely a highlight of my year. Maybe not to a lot of people. Maybe that's a memory that they will want to forget. Not for me. For me, it was, I'm happy that I experienced that. As I said before, like, I don't want to die without playing No Man's Sky. And No Man's Sky, I played. Did I ever? And I'm satisfied, and I'm still excited for what that game has for the future. Now, let's list off all of the other games. I have a really long list. So, for honorable mention, so we have I Am Setsuna. Fantastic game. It's a shame that it's not on PlayStation Vita. I would have loved to play it on there. Trials of Cold Steel 2. I barely got into Cold Steel 1 this year, and Cold Steel 2 is just as awesome as the first one. Super Hypercube, fantastic VR game. It is very simple, puzzle-based, but from the same people that brought you Fez. Fantastic game. Summer Lesson. A lot of people might call it like a pervert simulator or whatever because they're idiots, but Summer Lesson is much more profound and interesting than people make it out to be. We have Soft Body. We have Criminal Girls 2 Party Favors. Again, another kind of pervertish kind of game, but it's actually a video game about trust. It's a really good RPG, very interesting, very unconventional. Some people might judge it on the surface, but it's actually way better than people think make it out to be. We also have Hue, a fantastic platformer that completely came out of nowhere. I was not expecting this game to be that good. You have Hollow Ball. I think this is the killer app for VR. It's basically Wii Tennis, but in VR, and it's really fun, and it has a lot of style. Pinball FX 2 VR is another one, which I think is the second killer app for VR. I love pinball, I love VR. Fuse the two, like the Pineapple Pen guy. There we go. It's just a no-brainer for me. I really had a very, very good time with Pinball FX VR, even though the tables are way too pricey. And I personally prefer Pinball Arcade because those are based on actual real pinball tables rather than the made-up ones that they got on Pinball FX. But it was still really good. They still got the point across. You also have Odin Sphere Le Thrasier. If it weren't for the fact that this game already came out on PS2 and I already played it years ago, I would have put this on my top 10 easily because that game is incredible. They expand on that game so much that it might as well be a totally different game. Like, it is an epic. It is an absolute epic. It is Vanillaware at their best, and you absolutely have to play Odin Sphere. It is an incredible game. Attack on Titan, another one that came out of nowhere. I was not expecting this game to be as good as it was. It is incredibly addicting. It definitely has that Koei Tecmo feel of, like, just kind of playing through missions and leveling up and all that stuff. It is very true to the Attack on Titan name. I highly recommend it. I like to play it on PS Vita. Obviously, it runs better on other platforms like PS4 and PC, but get it all the way. It's really, really fun. You also have Inversus, a really good multiplayer game. Doom, obviously not Doom 1, like the newest Doom. This is just called Doom. Fantastic shooter, single player, amazing. Multiplayer, kind of bland, but, just the main campaign, it is absolutely awesome and unexpectedly so. Another unexpectedly awesome game is Knights of Azure. Another Koei Tecmo joint. I thought this one was going to be like a generic little anime fest, but it is quite the contrary. It is an action RPG with kind of like a few Pokemon elements, some loot-based stuff. It is really, really fun. The story was actually kind of interesting, and so that makes me all the more excited for Knights of Azure 2, which will be coming out next year. We also have Dragon Quest Builders. Minecraft with Dragon Quest elements, sign me up. Dragon Quest VII, just pure Dragon Quest RPG, remake of the original one on PlayStation 1. Love it. Blaze Blue Revolution Reburning. This is the only free-to-play game that I have on my honorable mentions because I just think that it's ingenious, the way that they got the 2D fighting game aspects of Blaze Blue and it translated it into a iPhone screen with tapping and slashing. And the fact that I still play that game to this day and I haven't spent a single cent, then, that's a thing to be celebrated. I think they go at it in a very clever way, very fun, very addicting way. It's just a really fun game to play overall. We also have Hitman, the newest one, obviously, with all of its all of its episodes and all that kind of stuff. Is really, really fun. Gravity Rush Remastered. I love Gravity Rush. It's a shame that, it's not really on PS Vita anymore. It's one of my favorite Vita games. But on PS4 is way better, And obviously, I can't wait for Gravity Rush 2. I have the demo for the second game installed. I haven't played it yet, but I'm excited. Overwatch, this game, obviously is Blizzard, in the same way that Hearthstone came out or Heroes of the Storm came out. Overwatch took the world by storm. Like Battleborn, was, dead whenever, at the moment that Overwatch came in because it completely grabbed all of the people by the horns. In the same way that when Scrolls came out, that card game by Mojang, that one completely died as well as soon as Hearthstone became a thing because Blizzard has a lot of clout and, they simplified things in a way that everybody could get into it. And Overwatch is a fantastic game. I really, really like it. And this is coming from a guy that absolutely hates multiplayer games and does not like to play with other people at all. Even playing that game with bots and, momentarily going into like quick play and all that stuff. It's fun. I like playing around with all the characters and whatever. Titanfall 2, unexpectedly amazing. I love the campaign for that. I also like the campaign for Dishonored 2, being able to play as two different characters, Corvo and the other lady. It's really fun, looks fantastic. The level design, it is second to none. It is incredible. Pokemon Sun and Moon is Pokemon, but with a lot of the conventions completely changed. I love this new generation. I love all the new characters. I love that all of the women in Pokemon Sun and Moon are hot as hell. It's a really enjoyable experience and a very refreshing change of pace as well for Pokemon in general. Deus Ex Go, I have that on my iPhone. Really, really fun. In the same way that, Lara Croft Go changed things They took Hitman Go and they changed it with Lara Croft Go. Well, they're changing it again with Deus Ex Go. It seems that they're kind of breaking new ground every single time a new Go game comes out. And so, seeing all these three, like this, like holy trinity of Hitman, Lara Croft, and Deus Ex Go show up on iPhones, it makes me excited for other properties that they can kind of goify in a way. Uncharted 4, this is another one in the honorable mentions. I know this might be like the game of the year for a lot of these people, for a lot of the other people on the internet that are making their own top 10 lists. I'm putting this one on honorable mentions simply because, I love Uncharted, but, not as much as other people. I think it's great, but there are other games that I just like way better, It's, I like it, but I like it in the same way that I watch a good action movie in the movie theaters and then I kind of forget about. I don't have that much reverence for Uncharted as a lot of other people have. And that's not me knocking the game because I played it and I absolutely adored it. But, there are other games that I prioritize. I'm more of a Japanese games kind of guy, that's just the kind of person that I am. We also have Pocket Card Jockey for 3DS. We have Twilight Princess HD. We have Elder Scrolls Legends, we have Star Fox Zero, we have Samurai's 3, we have a Rhythm Heaven Megamix, we have Senran Kagura Estival Versus. That one might actually surprise a lot of people. You might be like, what? A Senran Kagura game that is not on on your top 10 games of the year? Yeah, it is not on my top 10. Because even though I did have fun with Senran Kagura Estival Versus, and even though I did play more than 101 hours of it on the Japanese version, and I'm getting really close to another 100 on the PS4 version, I still think that the gameplay, the combat, and even the story to some extent, it is a massive step backwards from what they had with the 3DS titles, with Deep Crimson, with Shinobi Versus. I feel like they prioritized a lot of the animations more than actually having the combat be responsive. The story, even though it gets really exciting during the second half, it is a little weaker during the beginning. I feel like they push the comedy a little bit too much, which is a thing that the side games like Bon Appetit and even Peach Beach Splash might be better at doing. It might be more fitting rather than like a full-on like versus game. I feel like the story and the soundtrack and the gameplay and the combat and even the visual style is more interesting in games like Deep Crimson and Shinobi Versus. I feel like even though I think Estival Versus is good, it is a good game, I do not think that this is as good as any of the other mainline Senran Kagura games, and even Senran Kagura Burst. It is still, I think it is very unfortunate that this is the game that everybody gave all of their attention to. Like, this is the one that got popular. And then Shinobi Versus, when it came out on PC, it got a little bit popular as well. And that got really good reviews as well. But it's just a shame that people have not played, stuff like Deep Crimson and really know what a good Senran Kagura game is. Like a really, really great Senran Kagura game is. And still, they got Estival Versus, which is alright, but just not as good as any of the other ones. Visually, it is the best Senran Kagura game. If you want to talk about graphics alone, then it's awesome. And the fan service is awesome as well. But everything else could be better. Like, even the soundtrack is not as good. We also have Final Fantasy 15 as an honorable mention. We have Adventures of Mana on PS Vita and iPhone. I played it mostly on PS Vita. It's a really fun. Some people were very lukewarm towards it, but of course I never played the original Game Boy game, and I really love the music in that game. It is beautiful. The graphics look beautiful. The simplicity of the gameplay really makes me feel like I have gone back in time and played what all of these 20 to 30-year-olds of today played when they were kids. So it just, I don't know why, but I hold a lot of emotional value to Adventures of Mana. Like, there's a simplicity there that makes it really beautiful. We have a Japan-only game for PS Vita called Uppers. This is a beat-em-up from Marvelous, the same people that brought you Senran Kagura, but now with men, big buff men punching people. Incredibly fun game. It gets a little repetitive, but really, really fun. The Last Guardian is another honorable mention. Yomawari Night Alone is another really good game that I enjoyed a lot. I liked it a lot, and I even got in contact with NIS, and one of my quotes from my review actually made it into one of the official trailers, which is something that I am incredibly proud of. So there might be a little bit of bias there, but they asked me for the quote way after I actually wrote my reviews, so that maybe if that detail helps, then you should take that into account whenever I heartily recommend this game to you. I think it is a really good horror game. Well, more of a suspenseful game more than anything. For PlayStation Vita and for PC, I do recommend it. And the final entry in my games of the year honorable mentions is World of Final Fantasy. I was very positive about this game, but even then I was not expecting it to be as good as it ended up being. Again, PlayStation Vita version all the way. I know PS4 version is better and blah blah blah, but I'm a Vita guy. I always try to squeeze as much juice out of my Vita as I can. To me, that is the platform for me. It is right up there with like my top 3 most favorite consoles ever, and so I'm always gonna prefer the Vita version. Even with Attack on Titan, even though it doesn't run as well, I still have a lot of fun with it. I've never been I'm not a graphics geek. Okay, then, so we've been recording for almost 20 plus minutes. I did tell you guys this was going to be a long video. Like, the one from last year was a very long video as well. So, now that the honorable mentions are out of the way, I do recommend that you check out all of those games. All of those games are awesome, or interesting at the very least. Now, we're going to move on to the top 10, the cream of the crop, the 10 games that, frankly, I've been rearranging and reordering and taking out. And, like, it's always a difficult process for me to pick out 10 games that I really loved. Sometimes I'm even tempted to turn it into a top 20, but no. I want to stick with 10, keep it concise, keep it, like in a solid 10, and really, really define the games that defined my year, games that I really think and believe and firmly believe that, they were a cut above all of the rest. I've heard already comments of people disagreeing with me and calling me crazy or whatever, simply because Uncharted is not on my list, but, whatever. I stick by my opinions, and again, I try to go with as much variety as possible, because then, if it's always the same 4 games for all of the lists, like Uncharted, Dishonored, Overwatch, and like Witcher, like if a Witcher game comes out in that year, it's always going to be the Witcher that wins, Now, I wanted to play more to my strengths, more than actually playing to the conventions, I've always been, like the weirdo Japanese games player, and so, that's what I'm going to be, till the very end. I'm going to, play to my specialty rather than playing to what other people think. So my number 10, kicking off the list here on my top 10 games of 2016, is Hatsune Miku Project Diva Future Tone. So for now, at the time of this recording, this game is Japan only, and I think I've been playing this game for almost half a year now. And this game is barely going to come out in America in January, like early January of this coming year. But because of the massive amount of songs and the amount of time that it would take to localize the whole thing, I kind of, had these thoughts in my mind of like, yeah, this game is never going to come out in America. It's like this weird, like, PS4 console port of Project Diva Arcade, and it has like a ton of outfits, and, if they want to translate all the songs or whatever, like the licensing issues would be a nightmare for like 200 plus songs or whatever. This is never going to happen. And then it did happen. So, but either way, it doesn't matter, because both games should be identical to each other. It's a rhythm game and the songs are the same. So, yeah, there shouldn't be too much difference if people watch this video in the future after the American version came out. And so, I really like Future Tone a lot. I think, to me, it is the best Hatsune Miku game that has come out by far. You guys know that I'm a big fan of Vocaloid and Hatsune Miku in general, and I have been playing a lot of the games since Project Diva F, Project Diva F Second, Project Diva DX on 3DS, and even some of the iPhone stuff I've been playing. I have Project Diva X, I reviewed that on the site as well. I've gotten into like the virtual reality stuff with VR Future Live, and all of those games, like none of them compare. Maybe in graphics, I think I prefer Project Diva X visually wise. I got used to that art style. I just feel like it's really beautiful. Like, they really made it from the ground up for PS4, rather than Future Tone, which has the Project Diva arcade look, which looks a little bit different. I feel like the facial features, like the nose and the mouths, have more shading to them. They're a little bit more defined, and so they do look rather different. They look a little bit, I don't know, they look a little bit more like Barbie dolls than they do, in Project Diva F and X and all those, where they look like they really were made for consoles and stuff like that. And so, visually, you could see that the other ones are better, but when it comes to Future Tone and everything else, like the costume variety, the accessory variety, the song list, the amount of, different songs that are variety rather than just Miku, the different genres that are involved, the remixes, the live versions, the regular versions, the lengths of the songs, the challenge that goes into actually trying to beat all the songs with, easy, medium, hard, extreme, and then extra extreme, and then having the survival mode on top of that, going into, like the easy way that it is to just go to, the dressing room and, look at all of the costumes, seeing which one fits the certain video, the graphics, the 60 FPS, the 1080p resolution, the dancing, the videos, the creativity that goes into all of them. And the simple fact that it's just a crap ton of Miku, is like almost like borderline 300 songs, just for the whole game. Obviously is divided into two different bits. You have future tone and colorful tone. No, future sound and colorful tone. And so that's like maybe like 100 games per DLC pack. If you want to pay through the Japanese store, it'll translate to around maybe like 80 something dollars. So this is by far the most expensive Miku game that you can buy right now, but it comes with everything, no bullcrap DLC, no like costume packs or anything like that. Just pay the $80 and you have everything. You have absolutely everything, and I do not regret paying that money at all. Because every single time I play it, I feel like I'm definitely, absolutely, for sure, getting my money's worth. Like, I've played a lot of songs that I've never even heard before that are now playing on my iPhone because I've downloaded them. And it's like, hey, I discovered a lot of new songs and a lot of new albums and artists thanks to this game. And, having all the characters be involved, like, it's just an amazing Miku game. It is the best of the best. The graphics look beautiful. It is really amazing. If you're a Miku fan, then this should be a no-brainer, especially now that it's coming out in English for America. I'm not going to be buying that one. The only reason for why I would get one would be if somebody gives me a review code for it, in which case then I would just, I would download it and play it. But I would probably stick with the Japanese version because all of my progress is on that one, so it's fine. Okay, so that's my number 10. We have 9 more games to go, you guys. I told you guys this video would be fairly long. And then we have number 9, which, very different to No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky was a game that everybody thought would rock, and a lot of people ended up not liking. And so for Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE on the Wii U, that was almost entirely the opposite. This was a game that everybody was incredibly pessimistic about. Like, everybody thought that this game would suck. And it came out, and it actually ended up being really, really good. I never doubted Atlas. I think you can go back to my channel and watch videos of me, like, super duper defending Tokyo Mirage Sessions and calling all these other people that were naysayers, like, idiots because the game wasn't dark enough or any of that stupid stuff. Because I remember the first teaser trailer for this game was, like, a slideshow of, like, a bunch of Shin Megami Tensei characters. And so people thought that it was going to be like a dark, like, strategy game or something like that, like a tactical kind of thing. And so knowing that immediately turned me off immediately. Because anything that has a word strategy and tactical on it, like, I don't like it. Because that's just not my genre. I'm really bad at those. And it's frustrating, and I just can't get through any of those. Like, even through stuff like Devil Survivor. Like, as soon as I see, like, little pixelated characters walking in place and I have to move them through a grid, like, that, I want to shut that game off immediately. Because that is not my thing. But then I saw the other trailers in the future that showed, like, actual 3D models and characters and a good soundtrack and color and brightness and, like, an interesting message to tell, and it had, like, shadowy kind of figures, and you would have all of these fusions with Fire Emblem where, like, your little spiritual companions would be Fire Emblem characters. In the shop you have Fire Emblem characters. A lot of the weapons are Fire Emblem related. They have the weaknesses from Shin Megami Tensei, but when it comes to the weapons, you have, like, the little triangle of what weapon beats what. And there was a lot of healthy mixtures of Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem molded together into a completely original thing, which I personally ended up loving way more than what the people were expecting, which was essentially just like Super Smash Brothers with, like, Fire Emblem characters and Shin Megami Tensei characters and just having them pit them up against each other, like a very predictable kind of thing like that, just the people crossing over and with a stupid story to make up an excuse to have them work together, and that's it. Well, I would have not liked that. Some people are, till this day, are still really pissed off calling it, like, Persona 4 Simulator, or like something stupid like that, whenever they look at Tokyo Mirage Sessions. But to me, I see Atlas doing what Atlas does best. And that is, pushing the envelope. That is being original, not being afraid of, giving in to conventions, not being afraid of doing something different, not being afraid of, what the fans are going to say. Like, they do their thing, you know? I before Persona 4 came out, I never heard anybody saying like, "Oh man, I want a game about murders and I want Chie, like this girl that loves meat named Chie, to be a person that kicks things." Like, I never heard anybody like asking for anything specific like that until the game came out, and now everybody just wants that over and over again. This is what I'm saying. Like, people don't really know what they want until they get it, right? And then they just want a repeat of that same thing over and over again until something new comes in, and then they just want that again. It's a really weird, vicious circle to get into. And I feel like Tokyo Mirage Sessions really breaks that cycle. With its originality on visuals, on soundtrack, the way that the fights work, the way that you're chaining all of your attacks, your partners, the way that they are as characters, the way that they blend with the Fire Emblem characters as well, the way that you upgrade. Just the voice acting is great, the production value is great, and it's a Wii U exclusive game. Another thing, a lot of assumption like Wii U sucks, Wii U's dead, there's nothing to play on Wii U. Fuck you, you have Tokyo Mirage Sessions. That's a big giant RPG, in the same way that Persona 4 was a PlayStation 2 swan song. The same thing could be said about Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Like, this is a great game that if you have a Wii U, you have no excuse. Like, you have to play this game. It is incredible. Now, speaking of incredible games, we also have, on the number 8 spot, we have Devil Daggers on PC. This is a very simple game as opposed to Hatsune Miku or Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which are completely packed to the brim with content. Devil Daggers is a PC game. It came out on Steam for like maybe $3 or $4, $5. I think it was a $5 game that came out on Steam, and I bought it immediately as soon as I saw Giant Bomb playing through this game. And I still play it. Like, I still play through that game momentarily. The moment it came out on Mac, like, I had it on PC, and it would just not run through Parallels. And so I waited for the Mac version, and it came out, and that's just what I play. Like on Steam, that's like my I have Senran Kagura, Shinobi Versus, as kind of like the game that I play a lot on PC on Steam. But then after that, I have Devil Daggers, and Devil Daggers is absolutely amazing. It is like almost imagine like Quake, but like a demonic Quake. It's like an arena-based thing where you're like a guy with like two fingers. And so with these two fingers, you shoot daggers, devil daggers. And so you're supposed to survive against this wave and waves and waves and waves of demons and skulls flying around and like little like giant like spidery things on the edges. This game is incredibly hard. There's only one kind of leaderboard, and that's time. It's about how long you can survive. There aren't any points or, there's no... there is an end to this game, but that's not technically like the goal you're trying to reach. Like, there's no checkpoints or levels or anything like that. It is just one arena and the constant waves of enemies trying to kill you. And so the goal is to survive as long as possible. And so right now, the last time I checked, on the top of the leaderboards, people have maybe like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It really is a sight to behold. Actually, no, scratch that. I think it's almost like 10 minutes. I forget. Every single time I check the leaderboards, it's like somebody's already broken the record. And so I love that you can watch the replays of all of those people. Like in the leaderboards, there's like a little eye icon, and you click it, and you can see step by step what everybody did to reach that level. And then you can like fast forward and slow it down and stuff. Really, really awesome. Very simple. Like, the shooting feels very, very punchy. It feels aggressive. It feels I don't know. There's a lot of... I can feel it, Like, it's almost like I'm shooting a gun myself. Like, boom, when you do the shotgun thing, or when you hold down the button on the mouse, and it just shoot a bunch of daggers, and then the upgrades that turn you into an even bigger badass. The monster variety is absolutely terrifying. It's a good Halloween game. Like, it's a really good Halloween game to play. It's a demonic game that feels awesome. It feels like, like a Quake-style game from the 90s that somehow, like, time traveled over to 2016. Like, it's such a simple idea with only, like, one level and, like, a handful of enemies, but it got me playing for a long, 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 long time. Like, it is a fantastic idea that was also executed on very well. Like, it does the one thing very well, and it was good enough that it became, a part of my list in Game of the Year. Now let's move on to number 7. Number 7, we have Severed. I want to be specific about the version that I'm playing, and that is the PlayStation Vita version of Severed. Now, granted, all of the different versions of Severed are exactly the same. I have it on iPhone, and it's pretty much exactly the same game. I've seen it on Wii U, and I read a 3DS review on the site that Tim wrote not too long ago, and it seemed to be almost exactly the same game as well, save for a couple graphical differences. But for the most part, all games all around are the same. Now, sometimes you use your finger, sometimes you use a stylus, whatever. But that doesn't stop the fact that all versions of the game, especially the PlayStation Vita version of the game that I played when it first came out, is nothing short of amazing. It was created by Drinkbox. Is the same people that made Guacamelee, that made a kind of a Metroidvania type of thing, like a 2D platformer sort of thing, which was also really fun, and I played through all of it on my channel. You can check that out as well. And so I bought Severed knowing that Guacamelee was so good. And this one is totally different. Art style-wise, it is similar, but in terms of actual gameplay and story, it could not be more different. It is a very tragic tale about a girl that lost her family and is trying to find them inside of this demonic, hellish world that they find themselves in. She loses her arm, and she only has a sword to defend herself. And she keeps destroying monsters as she keeps dungeon crawling. It's kind of like those very old, like, first-person view, going from one little grid to the other. Ironically, I did say that I absolutely detested and hated those strategy games that you're going through a grid and stuff. Well, when it comes to dungeon crawlers, it is completely the opposite. I adore, and really, really love those old style, like Legend of Grimrock style of like, oh, you're in a dungeon, get out. You're like going through a grid step by step, turn around and go to the right and then go like this. And I don't know, I find something really charming. There's a style, there's a look to that really, resonates with me, I guess. And so this applies as well to Severed. The art style is really fantastic, and it is consistent throughout the entire game. The music, even though it doesn't have a lot of variety, I still enjoyed it a ton. The abilities, the way that, it makes full use of the PlayStation Vita screen and this big, beautiful OLED, screen that you can have. It really reminds me a lot of The World Ends With You as well, in the control scheme, where you can use the D-pad to be able to move around through one grid or the other and keep exploring the map. Although, I'm left-handed, so what am I going to do? Well, I can just use the face button, like square, circle, triangle, and that translates as well to left, right, and I can even use the analog sticks as well. So, very comfortable. I was playing the game very comfortably with my left fingers, with the slashing and the attacking and all that, and then my right hand was used for the sticks and the buttons and all that, which I like a lot. And I also get a similar feeling when I'm playing the iPhone version, and so that game is not a happy game. It really isn't. There's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of pain to be had. There isn't a single happy moment to be had in that game other than the satisfaction of knowing that you survived and lived through the whole thing. It's a game that makes you think in many ways. This is definitely a change of pace when it comes to a game like Guacamelee, where that one definitely had some references and some sense of humor and like the goat man and all that kind of stuff. And even then, a lot of the things that happen in Guacamelee are not happy either. So I commend Drinkbox for kind of challenging conventions in that way. It's a fantastic game, a really great dungeon crawler. I highly recommend it. And if you have a PlayStation Vita, it's a must. And if you don't have one, then on iPhone, it works just as well. There's a lot of like tapping and like weird like double finger, triple finger stuff that you gotta do. So I recommend playing it on a platform that has buttons, like on Wii U, DS, or Vita. I prefer Vita. You get whatever platform you like. And so go ahead and enjoy it, because it really is an unforgettable game. Like, I liked it so much that I actually completed the entire thing, and I got the Platinum Trophy for Severed. And believe me getting the Platinum Trophy for something is not common. I think I have maybe like 4 or 5 Platinum Trophies out of the hundreds of games that I own. And so most of them are Summer Kagura games. And, there are other games that I've completed 100% that didn't have a Platinum Trophy, like Flower and stuff like that. But, to me, Severed was so good that I actively went out to get the Platinum Trophy for this. So I've seen everything there is to see about that game. I have 100% completed that game, and I could not be happier for that. Now, another game that I would love to complete 100% is my number 6 spot, which for the first time ever in the list that I have made, a virtual reality game has made it onto my top 10 favorite games of, whatever X year. And this could actually pass as one of my favorite games of all time, because this one really is absolutely fantastic. And this game is called Res Infinite, specifically for PlayStation VR. I could say PlayStation 4, but I have barely ever played Res on regular TV mode in PlayStation 4. Every single time that I've played Res Infinite and enjoyed Res Infinite and gotten emotional over Res Infinite is by playing it with a virtual reality headset with the PlayStation VR turned on. I've only the only time that I played Res Infinite on regular TV mode was when I was out on vacation, and so I brought my PS4 with me, and I didn't bring my headset, so I had no choice but to play it in regular TV mode. And even though I liked it a lot, I felt limited. I felt like I was missing a dimension. I felt like, moving around with the analog sticks, it was alright, but it was too slow. I didn't feel like I was fully in control. And I felt like everything fell flat, Now, even though I was having a lot of fun, I still loved the game to death, whether in VR or not. But I felt like something was missing, I felt like I was watching like a movie in black and white, and the color for some reason went away. And so when I put on the headset and I'm fully engulfed in the entire world, and I have the headphones and I'm listening to everything coming from all directions, and I'm hearing the super badass version, the badass soundtrack, and like all of those songs, like in the final level, like there is a mind killer, like everything contributes to the music, having different forms, evolving. The game is really short. There's only 5 levels, and there's like an extra like unused level that they added in there. But there's like score attacks and like boss rushes, and there's a mode where you just go through every single level continuously without stopping, and you're always constantly unlocking stuff that makes the game more interesting later on. Really cool unlockables. Area X is definitely one of the biggest highlights. One of the big reasons for why this is even on my list of games of the year is not only because this is my very first time ever playing Res. I've seen videos of Res. I've seen people talking about Res, but I've never actually played it and seen it in full motion for a big amount of time. And so for me, this might as well be a completely new game. I already knew that this was like a 15-year-old game on the Sega Dreamcast, and that it had also been ported over in HD on Xbox 360. But this was my very first time ever seeing it in PlayStation 4 in virtual reality with Area X, with Move controllers, with the regular DualShock 4 controller, looking around everywhere. It was an unforgettable experience, and I still, because the game is so short, I go through and do just full on like complete playthroughs of that game whenever I have some free time, and it's relaxing. I feel like I'm in a trance whenever I play that game. It is such an unforgettable experience. If you have a PlayStation VR and you can't really find something to play, this is it. Like, this is, I already said that one of the big killer apps for VR for me was Holoball and, Pinball Effects 2. You can definitely add Res Infinite to that list. Like, the big top defining experiences for me in virtual reality has to be Res Infinite. You cannot spend time inside of virtual reality and give any kind of verdict on it without, playing Res Infinite first. Like, it is an incredible experience. And I know that I've said the word incredible and amazing and fantastic throughout this entire video, but I could not be more serious about those words as I am about Res Infinite. Like, I was mind blown about Res Infinite. Now, let's move on to the top 5. Now, again, if you guys have seen the list of the editorial team at thebuttonsmasher.com, you will see my selections from 5 all the way to number 1. But of course, there's no elaboration or explanation as to why those are even in there. So if you're curious about that, then go ahead and keep watching. We've been going for almost an hour, but that doesn't matter. I already told you guys this is going to be almost like a podcast kind of thing, like a vlog, me just talking, maybe some photos, probably not, of, just me going through all these games that I really, really love of this year, in order for me to give myself some closure on 2016. Okay, so number 5, we have a game that is very near and dear to my heart. If you want to speak of a games that have sentimental value to me personally, then you can consider this and the entire series as a whole as a thing that has a lot of sentimental value to me, and that is Blaze Blue. It is Blaze Blue Central Fiction for PlayStation 4. I know that there's a PlayStation 3 version out there. It is exactly the same as the PS4 one, save some, loading times or whatever, but both of them are pretty much identical, and they're both absolutely sublime. They're really, really fantastic. Most people are not going to even have this on their list because it is, the anime thing. And so I guess, people don't like the animes or something. I did go to ricedigital.co.uk, and apparently that was their game of the year. Apparently people love their Blaze Blue over on that website, which is something that I'm really happy about. I feel like that is like the only site other than my YouTube channel that has this game on their list or as game of the year or whatever. Well, for me, it's number 5. For me, this one is right in the middle because this is the wrap up. There have been words of more Blaze Blue games being made in the future, but they have already said that that's not gonna happen until a long, long time. Arc System Works has already confirmed that they're working on another game that is completely unrelated, and it would have it would not even be a fighting game. It would have nothing to do with Blaze Blue. So yeah, you can pretty much say for sure that aside from maybe like an extended version or whatever, there's not going to be a sequel to either this story or like the universe that we know of Blaze Blue. I've been following the Blaze Blue series ever since the very beginning. I remember during the launch window of Blaze Blue Calamity Trigger, the first one, I got like the special edition with the soundtrack and everything, and I enjoyed it. And even till this day, I play the portable version. I play the PSP version of that game, and it still holds up. It's still really fun. The story is still engaging. The English voice acting is amazing. Unfortunately, there's no English voice acting in this version of Blaze Blue for Central Fiction. Even though it is the American version with English text and everything. I guess it was monetary issues. They could not afford to pay like the people for the voice acting, and on top of that, they got kind of greedy and they wanted to release the game 6 months early. And so there's kind of that bull crap of like, people love to watch their anime in Japanese anyway. Like, who cares? And so they just put it out. Like the finale, the wrap up to Central Fiction. They put it out in Japanese when they should have done it in English. Shame on you, Access Games, or whoever the hell manages all that. That was a really, really retarded, stupid, dumbass move from all of you guys. But that doesn't stop the game from being absolutely fantastic. The way that the story wraps up is satisfying. It got me emotional again, especially during the ending credits when it was rolling. Seeing the huge majority of the characters get their happy ending. Seeing all of these stories wrap up, seeing all of these characters kind of get some closure, seeing actual stuff happen, because sometimes in Blaze Blue things can get very childish in terms of, people just, spitting out names of things happening, but everything seems to be the same, people being very melodramatic about stuff. But here you can really feel the changes. You can really feel things being at stake. You could really feel people actually mobilizing and moving around and getting stuff done, which to me was fantastic. I love the conversations. The witty banter is still there. All of your favorite characters are there. Very Angel Beats, in the sense of slowly you kind of see things kind of growing a little emptier, just in the sense of oh man, this guy's dying and this guy's dying and this guy's dead and everyone's dead and there's only 5 people left, but then there's this big mind-blowing thing that happens and we'll fight after fight after fight, and then secret characters and reveals and twists, and yeah, it's really, really crazy. And the fighting itself is really polished and really fantastic as well. Even though that's with me saying, Calamity Trigger still holds up today, and I still think that, Continuum Shift for me is the sweet spot, To me, that's my Super Smash Brothers Melee or something like that, And this Central Fiction to me feels like a good, middle ground, a very kind kind of like Smash 4. That's what it seems to me. Like kind of a mixture of the old thing and the new thing kind of brought together. A lot of new characters. All of them look fantastic. I love, I love Naoto. Hibiki is great. Mai is really great. Susanoo. I love using all the characters because then you also have stylish mode. So many modes. I always complain about a lot of these fighting games like Nacho Plus Blasters and like Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax. All of these fighting games made by Examu and the complete laziness that they have of just having a handful of modes. They have, story versus gallery online, and that's it. Sometimes they don't even have a tutorial, which is incredibly upsetting. Even like one of my most favorite fighting game of all time, Arcana Heart 3, does not have a variety of modes. It's literally just the fighting and like a really crappy story mode and a terrible soundtrack. And so even my most favorite game has that. And BlazBlue completely tears all of that out of the water. It completely like brings like this giant ship full of content and throws torpedoes at those little boats and just completely annihilates them. It has so much content like Speedstar mode, Abyss mode. It has the online multiplayer, the lobbies. You can decorate your lobbies. You can decorate your little window. You have your little pixelated character, galleries, arcade mode. There's 3 different acts to the arcade mode, challenge mode, score attack. It's a slobber knocker of content. Like, if you want a good fighting game with a ton of content, you can get either Guilty Gear, Exert, or Revelator, or you can get BlazBlue Central Fiction. I think both of those games are, like, tied. That's like Goku and Vegeta. Like, the two of them are kind of, like, right there at the top for me. Like, I've not seen... aside from Arcana Heart 3, but that's a totally different game, from a different company. I very rarely see fighting games that are better than Guilty Gear and BlazBlue. And so BlazBlue for me, right there, is right up there. I absolutely love BlazBlue. And I think this grand finale to the story was a satisfying one. And I can't wait what happens in the future. Maybe they'll do a remake, like an Exert type of remake. Maybe they'll reboot the series or something. Who knows? Okay, so now my number 4 entry in this top 10 games of 2016 list goes to Picross 3D Round 2. This one was very unexpected. This one also comes through Giant Bomb. I'm a big fan of theirs, and they made a video talking about Picross 3D. And then I saw the old video, like the very, very old video that they made with the original Picross 3D, and then came back with the modern one with Picross 3D Round 2 on 3DS. And so it was only maybe like $30, $35 something dollars. It was around the same price that Rhythm Heaven costed. And I was not expecting to be so entranced. I first started with Mario's Picross on Game Boy because I was kind of unsure about how Picross worked. And so I went with the 2D Mario Picross, and I was addicted to it. I could not stop playing it, even if my life depended on it. And so making that jump to 3D with blocks and all that kind of stuff, I thought that's crazy. What? And so I decided to give it a shot, went through the tutorials, and it is actually way easier than the 2D one in my opinion. But I love the aesthetic. I love the kind of chill, smooth jazz cafe kind of thing. I love that it's such a chill game, so family friendly, so innocent feeling, so pure, I think, in its presentation and the way that it describes all of the objects that you unlock. Because in Picross, there's like this big block, and so you have to keep chipping away at it. You have to chip away all these tiny little blocks to create a shape. And so you do that by, numbers and logic. You see like a row of 5s, and so you take out 5 and you color them to a certain color. They have a very comprehensive tutorial for Picross 3D that I highly recommend that you go through because you get benefits and you understand the game so much more than just kind of jumping into it. And it has a ton of content as well. Like, there's so many different books with so many different categories. It's like, oh, this book is for doggies. And so, like, all of the puzzles are dog-themed. Or, let's go to the amusement park. And there's a bunch of, like, rides and amusement parks and little horsies and stuff. And it's really, really fun. Like, sports, like Olympic sports. And so you do, like, little shapes of, like, people doing, like, somersaults or whatever. And the descriptions are really cute. And it's just such a pleasant warm heart feeling kind of game. I love the soundtrack in it as well. Dan Reichert from Giant Bomb says it very, precisely when he says like, this game makes me time travel. And I'm like, yeah, he's absolutely right, because whenever I play it, before I know it, it's like 2 in the morning, and it's like, what? Have I really spent like my entire night just like doing all of these puzzles and like staring at something for 30 minutes and trying to do it? It is incredibly addicting. Usually puzzle games are not my strongest suit. I do like puzzle games. I like them a hell of a lot more than strategy games, but and even sports games. But puzzle games have to be really special for me to hit all of the right notes to me. Stuff like Portal, I guess puzzle games, I guess like, I don't know, Limbo, stuff like that, stuff that's like really special and different and out of the ordinary. That's the stuff that I really like, And so Picross really fits that bill. Visually, it's amazing. Audibly, it's amazing. The buttons and the way that they're used, again, with like the dual, very similar to Severed and very similar to The World Ends With You. I am left-handed, so I use my left hand for the stylus. And so, but then they tell me, okay, so use the D-pad to change your colors and stuff. Okay, but how do I do that without it having to be a hassle? Well, just use the face buttons. Just use X, Y, A, B, and there you go. Problem solved. I love that. Oh, beautiful. Convenience. Good level, good, design of your controls. It's really, really, really great. Picross 3D is definitely one of those games where I would give an arm and a leg to be able to erase my memories of those games and try to experience that again, because it's an absolute delight. No violence, no guns, no pretentious story, none of it, trying to surprise you too much. It's just a simple by-the-books puzzle game that is just presented and executed in such a amazing way that this is a must-buy for anybody, because this is not like, like Hatsune Miku, where it's like a niche, or like Devil Daggers, where it's like satanic or whatever. This is a game that should be accessible to literally anybody that has a brain. Anybody that can count from 1 to 9, like you are more than ready to be able to play this game. So I recommend it without a shadow of a doubt. Now, speaking of shadows and, dark stuff and like niches or whatever, here we go. Moving on to the number 3 spot, which this one kind of came at the last possible moment. I played this game very, very late into the year. I mean, this game showed up late into the year as well, but it took me some time after its release for me to actually pursue that game and start playing it. And this is called Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. As we speak, I am currently trying to play through the original Shin Megami Tensei 4, because I had a bit of a falling out with that game. I thought when I first played it a long time ago, this year actually, I had a lot of trouble with it. I thought the game was very unfriendly, very unwelcoming. I thought that the game was way too difficult very early on. And, there was a lot of issues that I had with the map and, like, the directions and the way that the quest lines worked. I thought that there were too many annoyances for me to actually enjoy the game. It wasn't until I grinded a lot of levels early on, and I could just, slam through everything, where I really was having fun, and I was letting the story happen. And so I was struggling a lot with the original SMT4. And so now with SMT4 Apocalypse, it kind of felt to me kind of like when I played Persona 4 for the first time, It's kind of like a thing that, yeah, sure, it has connections to other games, but it can definitely stand on its own with you having to play any of the other games. And if you compare it to Shin Megami Tensei 4, Apocalypse pretty much improves and grows upon everything that the previous game had. Like there are labels on the maps, the missions are a lot easier to take over, the characters are better, the execution of how you use those characters are better, your partners are better, you can decide what partner you can get. Demon recruitment is a little bit easier than in Shin Megami Tensei 4. The fusions are much more interesting. Leveling up is more interesting, because when you receive new powers, you can change the order of them, and the light spells and the dark spells got changed to actually do damage and not just be a one-hit kill, like all or nothing. Like there's so many tiny little details in this game that eventually start to pile up into a big giant change all around that make this into a very engrossing experience. The story, oh my god, the story is incredible. Like just, it is like super epic, like universe mind-blowing thing where like gods and demons are in this war with each other. It's like gods versus demons versus humanity versus anyone else in between. And within the humans there's like different factions and everything is breaking down. There's like a world, like post-apocalyptic Tokyo, and then there's like another world outside of like the force field that they're on. And, like you have the characters from the original Shin Megami Tensei 4 that are crossing over, and just the complete lore, the atmosphere, the story, the characters that are involved, the reasons for them being there, all of the demons, the demon fusion, the apps, the perks, the weapons, the animations for the deaths of all the demons, the way that they handle the story, because this is an M-rated game on 3DS. And if you've played Shin Megami Tensei before, you'll know that they do not hold back. Like, there's some dark stuff happening here. There's, like, death constantly. There's a little bit of betrayal, here and there. There's, a lot of violence, a lot of ruthlessness, a lot of crying, a lot of, they don't hold back. They tug at your heartstrings, and they do some screwed up stuff right in the middle of it with, like, side quests or whatever. It's almost like in The Witcher, like when you're just kind of wandering around the world and you come across a side quest, and that side quest is like a whole, like, story or whatever. Like, it gets like that. It gets pretty crazy. There's some new locations in Apocalypse. The combat is more streamlined, the map is more streamlined, the quests are more streamlined. In the same way that Persona 4 improves from Persona 3, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse improves in many ways from the original SMT4, in a way that you can play Apocalypse without having to play the original one. And the reason for why I played the original later is because I played through all of Apocalypse from beginning to end, and I was so entranced and so invested and so incredibly engrossed in this thing that it's like, I want to play the prequel to this, which is essentially the same game but hard mode, like hard mode to Apocalypse with like a different characters and different story and whatever. And so that's what I'm doing. Like the game Apocalypse was so good that it made me go back to the game that I hated and like it again. Like, just it allowed me to go and give this the prequel to this game a second chance, which is amazing. It really is an amazing, incredible game. It left a really big impression on me, again, in the same way as when I first played Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden on PS2 and PS Vita. If you have a 3DS and if you're looking for a goddamn good RPG to play, then I could not recommend Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse more. It is a must-buy. You must have this game. You must play it and just enjoy it, because holy damn, stuff happens in that game, and that is like earth-shatteringly awesome. Now, speaking of earth-shatteringly awesome, we have our final two selections. We have number 2, which is Inside for PC and PlayStation 4. I struggled a lot with Inside at the beginning because I got a code for it on Steam, and because my computer is a big sack of crap, I was not able to run it. And so I had to go and look for other places to be able to run that game. And so eventually, I remember I got a friend. Like, there was a friend on campus that had, like, the Xbox version of it or whatever. And so I played through basically the whole thing, like 2 or 3 hours of me playing through the game in one sitting. And that's how I got to review the game. And I watched a walkthrough. I saw a walkthrough on the internet of Inside as well, because there was like all the secrets and all the alternate endings and like all that stuff, like that's what I was kind of looking for within that walkthrough, on top of me playing it on a different platform. But either way, all of the games, PS4, PC, Xbox, are all the same game. That game is incredible. Like, it is a masterclass in game design. I feel really weird how almost 10 years ago as well, history kind of repeated itself, where, Playdead came out with Limbo, and that kind of set the tone for a lot of indie platformers out there on Steam. If it weren't for Limbo, I feel like you would not see nearly like half as many, indie puzzle platformers where everything is a silhouette, I feel like, all of those silhouette levels in Donkey Kong Country Returns would not exist if it weren't for Limbo. I feel like all of those games that don't have any dialogue would not exist if it weren't for Limbo. All of the seamless transitions from one room to the other, the puzzles, the subtle storytelling, the mind-boggling, like almost psychological feeling that you get when you're going through all of these levels. I don't think all of that would exist if it weren't for Limbo, and I feel like they're going to set that same standard again for a whole generation of brand new developers out there with Inside. I feel like with Inside, there's going to be more people out there that are going to make a similar game because their game is of such an enormously high quality and so carefully, almost surgically done, where it's a work of art. Like you could say that all of these other games are works of art as well, right? But this one is overwhelmingly so. Like this one is pristine. It's like looking at a painting every single time. I love the level select, the way that it transitions from the level select to you actually playing the game. It's very elegant and intelligently made. It really is fantastic. The platforming and the way that the story is told through you playing the game rather than somebody stopping you and giving you a cutscene or a dialogue or a text box that you have to shoo out of the way later. Everything is told through what you're doing and through what you're not doing, and everything that's surrounding you that makes you act and do those things that push the story forward, literally, because you're constantly moving forward. Obviously, a lot of the things that happen in the story are very much open to interpretation, especially the ending, and the ending is definitely one of the punctuating, piercing points of the story and the game. Everybody, whenever they talk about Inside, they talk about the ending. And I think it is very well done. I feel like it is, again, one of those like open to interpretation things because it's so crazy and completely unexpected that as soon as you see the credits roll, or at the very least with me, I started walking and pacing around in circles in the apartment, just kind of thinking about what happened and thinking about the message that they're trying to convey, or what thoughts they're trying to imprint and insert into my head for me to connect the dots and kind of create thoughts of my own. It is such a masterpiece, in the same way that Limbo blew my mind when I first played it. Years later, they come at it again with Inside, giving me almost exactly the same effect, but multiplied. It's like a Limbo squared rather than Limbo 2. It's because it's not a sequel or like an expansion of that same idea. It's like everything got evolved in a way that not a single pixel is out of place in this game. Everything is so deliberate. Everything is so surgically constructed that it's a beauty. It is absolutely like a beautiful thing to behold, to watch it in action, to see it in movement, and to see people react and have a discussion about it and have like roundtables of like what the ending means and whatever. Obviously, there's going to be some people that are going to be very dismissive about it and be like, oh, well, they're just doing that on purpose to confuse you because they know that the reactions are going to be there and all of the... Like, you can be very cynical about that kind of stuff. But I don't want to be cynical about Inside. I feel like all of these things do mean something, especially when you're the one doing all of it because you're playing the game. You're involved directly in what's happening. But it is a beautiful game, like in every single extent of the word, in any way that you can manipulate that word. That game is beauty. It is design. It is art. It is, beauty in movement. It is really, really like a mind-blowing game. It is in the same way as how the indie revolution started with Inside, among others. The Inside might actually spark a brand new fire in a lot of people because of how good it is. Now, following in that same path, I would like to move on to my number one spot, which goes to The Witness on PlayStation 4. For me, the number one game, which funnily enough, it was very early into the year. If I'm not mistaken, the game came out at around January, February of this year, and I enjoyed it so much more, and I became so obsessive with that game, so much more than any of these other games on this list. I really, 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 really love The Witness. It is very similar to Devil Daggers in the sense that it is such a simple concept, such a simple thing that got turned into such a masterful painting. you know? And keeping up with the pattern. You know, you back in like 2007, 2008, you had like Jonathan Blow and Playdead and, you know, like Edmund McMillan, you know, just kind of rocking the world with, you know, Super Meat Boy, Limbo, and Braid. You know, like the holy trinity of indie games that kind of started the indie revolution, among, you know, many others. But now, almost 10 years later, they have come back again. You have like Edmund McMillan with like The Binding of Isaac, and you know, coming out with Mugenics or whatever. And then you also have Play Dead with Inside and Jonathan Blow with The Witness. Like the second wave of like indie game geniuses have come once again to blow our minds. I almost feel like I don't deserve it. You know, like it's such a privilege, such an honor to see like such geniuses like just come out with these games and like set a brand new standard all over again. When there are so many other people that are making so many different games following in their footsteps, but then they come in and they're like, you know, like just here's The Witness, beat that motherfucker. Like just, and I have not seen a game that has beaten it just yet, you know. Like a lot of people like to reference Myst when it comes to The Witness, and I don't like Myst as much as I like The Witness. Like, it's seriously, I like just straight up. It is a masterful game. It was made very deliberately. I could see the same thing about The Witness, just like how I said about Inside. You know, it is very deliberately made. It is a surgical process. Everything that you see in that game makes sense. Not a single pixel is out of place. Everything, the entire island has something to do with all of the puzzles that you're making. Like all of the things in the island contribute to you solving the puzzles. Everything seems like a confusing mess at the beginning, but then something just clicks into your mind where you can do all these puzzles and have a series of puzzle solving sessions, bit after bit after bit, until eventually you solve a certain amount of puzzles and levels to be able to reach the mountain, which has even crazier stuff into it. Like, it is just a series of puzzles. It is like this little grid with like a dot, and you have to reach a certain goal. And every single time you solve one of these puzzles, and one of the most satisfying things in the goddamn universe, and there's so many secrets and things to discover and see and listen and perceive in The Witness that till this day, I am still looking, I'm still searching, and I'm still unlocking more worlds. And I every single step of the way, I've been incredibly tempted. I've always been very tempted to go and look at a walkthrough or look at a slideshow of like all of the different, pictures of the solutions for all the puzzles, and I don't want to do it. I absolutely refuse. I have done it. I have looked up, I've eventually like given up on a lot of these, and I've looked up like the general path of some of these puzzles, and then just blocked the rest of it out because I want to figure out the rest of it all on my own. Now, a lot of these are really fun. A lot of these are really frustrating. A lot of these I'm just there staring at it for 3 hours until eventually I don't get it, and then the next day I wake up fully refreshed and I do it in like 20 seconds. So that game it really is a sight to behold. It is so masterful, and it has a completely clear, it has like an absolute, just like Inside, it has an absolute understanding of what the game wants to be and how it's going to go about doing it, and very clever. Like, I understand so much about the game, and very similar to Inside. No text boxes getting in the way. They could have easily said, "Hello, welcome to The Witness. Press the A button to do this." No, like, just the biggest, most detailed amount of instructions that they give you is just at the very beginning. Like, they show you the icon of the analog stick. Push it, and then you move around. Then X, summon your little dot, and that's it. You could technically play this game with like an Atari 2600 controller. It's so simple. You just move around and you press the button for the little, the puzzle things. It really is an amazing game, and it's so simple. No big like world bending, dimension breaking story like Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. It's even simpler than Picross 3D, I guess, because in Picross, you have the complexity of the numbers, and you have to, go through all these different shapes with all these different dimensions, almost like a Rubik's Cube in a way. You gotta, keep, chipping away at all of these, and you can restart, and sometimes you have time limits or whatever. It can get a little bit more complicated. With The Witness, you use the dots. The dots, connect them. Oh, wait, you can't just, walk over there and connect them willy-nilly. You got to figure out how to, which one actually fits. Oh, well, if you explore around your surroundings and you take a look at a mirror and you see the puzzle through the mirror, you'll know that there are different colors. Well, you got to choose the right color. Sometimes there's like two lines. You got to, go at them at the same time and connect them all. Sometimes you see some mountains in the distance, and those mountains will give you a clue as to what you're supposed to do. And there's a ton of secrets in the island as well that you can unlock, and there's hundreds of those. Like, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of puzzles. There's like 700 puzzles. And like, even then, when you unlock everything, you got to go into the mountain. That's more puzzles as well. Just puzzles everywhere. But I love every single one of them. This is one of the most ironic number ones I've ever seen. Like a puzzle game. A puzzle game with like no story, no soundtrack, barely any sound effects. Like this chill, very slow paced where it is nothing but an island and a bunch of connect the dot puzzles. Like that's my number one video game of the year 2016. Yes, it's that good. Also, like, it's really intelligent. Just like listen to all of the audio files and you're just, whoa. It's like you're gonna have a really different view of life, when you see it. That and like all of the secret endings and all that kind of stuff. Like, just it's crazy. It's a crazy game. And every single time I play a brand new game, I'm always like, is this better than The Witness? Because I really like The Witness a lot. Nope. And not even Inside. I mean, Inside comes to an extremely, extremely, extremely close second place. Like, I was almost tempted to have the number 2 spot be something else. And then just tie up. Like 1A would be The Witness, and then 1B would be Inside. Like, both of those are like number 1 material for me. But I wanted to decide, and I went for The Witness. Because even after playing Inside and getting my mind blown, that was only like 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours in Inside, and after you see that, that's it. There really no other reason for you to play through that again. And with The Witness, I did have a reason to go back and play again. There was so much more to see every single time. There was like stuff that you see on the surface, and then, you go digging deeper, and you find more interesting stuff. Graphically is beautiful, audibly is beautiful, puzzle-wise is beautiful. Everything about that game is masterful. And Jonathan Blow still got it. Him and his team. It's really... That game is a sight to behold. It kind of reminds me, it feels like history is repeating itself. Playdead and Jonathan Blow coming out with Braid and Limbo, blowing people's minds. 10 years later, they did it again. Went ahead and did it again with The Witness and Inside, and they're going to set some new standards. And maybe 10 years later, they're going to do the same thing again, And that's exciting. Like, this year in video games was absolutely incredible. You have one of the biggest and greatest Hatsune Miku games out there with his biggest song lineup. You have Tokyo Mirage Sessions with the game that everybody thought would suck, and it was actually really great. Devil Daggers bringing in simplicity with effective execution. Severed with a very bitter-sweet experience and yet still very fun and action-oriented. Res Infinite making me feel emotional about a weird, like, on-rail shooter rhythm game. BlazBlue Central Fiction with its wrap-up to a very long series that I hold very near and dear to my heart that I've been following since day one. Picross 3D, a very unexpected puzzle game that is very simple and calming and heartwarming to the point that even your grandma could play it and still have fun, and even a little child can play it as well. Accessible to everybody, fun for everybody, and it'll make you smarter for everybody. It'll make you think about your numbers. Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, epic, action-oriented, intense, treacherous, intimidating, thought-provoking, incredible. And then Inside, this bleak thing, like Limbo Squared, is what I could say. Not a sequel, but just an improvement of that idea. And then bringing it up with The Witness on PS4 specifically. I know it's on PC as well, but I played it on PS4. Yeah. And there you go. That's my list. That is my top 10 video games of 2016, along with all of those honorable mentions. We have been recording for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that this video has been very, very long, but I'm pretty much just going to upload this as it is, because I really want to get this video out of the way. Unfortunately, I wanted it to have more, bigger, nicer production value, but by the time I do that, I would already be preparing for the top 10 games of the year of 2017. Like, it would take me a long time. And so I'd rather just do this quickly for the people that are interested in my thoughts on video games and the video games that have been coming out in the year 2016. I want this to be less of a show and a piece of entertainment and more as kind of like archival footage of my thoughts and what I believe to be the greatest games of 2016. And hopefully, I'm not looking for you guys to agree with this list. Like, this is just information. You want to know what my favorite games are? Here you go. That's it. I would like to know what you guys have to think. What you guys have to say. I'm interested in what your top 10 is. I would love to know what games really spoke to you, what really resonated with you, what games made you have a lot of fun, what games made you cry, what games really defined the year for you. Whether it's a remake or a sequel or hell, even if it's a game that wasn't released in North America, even if it's like a Japanese game or like an old game that you discovered this year, any game that really really caught you and really resonated with you and really made you think. I'm interested to know, because even though I would prefer to make a living out of this, I don't do this for a living. It's kind of a glorified hobby right now, but I do play a ton of games. However, that doesn't mean that I play every single game. I've seen games like Civilization 6 make it into a lot of lists. I've seen like a Witcher expansion make it into a list. There's a lot of games that I was expecting to see that I did not see. So, yeah, just lay it on me. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me what you think of my list. And you can, also talk about, your own list and why you think these games are special. And what do you guys think about the future? What does the future hold? A lot of the games that everybody's been expecting have arrived, like Dragon Quest, The Last Guardian is out, virtual reality is here. And, I got a lot of honorable mentions that are virtual reality games. And I got one virtual reality game, Res Infinite, that made it onto my top 10. What do you guys think? Do you think like next year we're going to see more games that are either virtual reality or have a virtual reality option onto it? We may not know until we actually have it in front of us. But I'm excited for 2017. I know that 2016 has been a little bit rough for a lot of us. Times have been hard in anything that isn't the video game world. For me personally, when it comes to the video game industry, I think we've been at our highest point. I feel like we have not been, in a rough spot, I think. I feel like there have been enough things where there's been enough progress and creativity and intelligence from the developer side, not necessarily from the community side. And the community side, it really has been rotten, like everything else in 2016, with a lot of entitled pricks, a lot of misinformed opinions, a lot of, hostility towards, the hands that feed us all the games that we can enjoy, basically. I usually tend to keep quiet, and just kind of receive games, play them, and just talk about them for what they are, not necessarily complain about what they don't have, or, like this developer, like he said, she said this, I'm not all about that drama. I'm more about just kind of playing games and talking about them. And so even though I have gotten involved in a little bit in any of that kind of stuff, I'd rather not, especially not for next year. I feel like my goals for next year would be to be a little bit more professional in that aspect. But yeah, there we go. At that point, I'm rambling. I'm just rambling. I'm going to keep going and going and going and going. I have been recording for borderline 90 minutes, so I'm just going to stop right here and say thank you. Say thank you for all the people that have been supporting me this year. My goal for this year was to get 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and I didn't reach that goal, but I did get really close, though. I have like 890 something, actually. I have my Chrome web browser right here. I just want to go ahead and click on my channel and see how many I have. In these last 4 days of the year, I could easily get a spike or something and get 1,000, but who knows? I have 897. All right. I reached borderline 900. That's not 1,000, but that is pretty goddamn close, and so I feel pretty proud of that. And of course, there will be a lot of changes going into next year. I have my second channel where I'm posting live stream archives. I have a brand new website that I'm creating that has everything that has to do with me, my Twitch, my Twitter, my posts, my news, my reviews. All of it is going in there. and kind of like creating a brand new thing with that one, to the point where this channel might actually go through a rebranding. But again, I'll think about that soon. I'm not going to reveal what the site is just yet because I'm still migrating a lot of content and I'm thinking about the visuals and all that stuff. When the site, like, formally launches, I'm going to give you guys a link and you can visit it, and you can bookmark it, and you'll see, all of my video updates. It's basically going to be like my singular hub where you can see everything pertaining to me. That's like my brand and my content and stuff that I do. So there we go. With that said, thank you very much, guys, for listening to what I have to say. If you listened through the entirety of the video, then I appreciate that like you have no idea. I am incredibly happy that you have taken the time, and hopefully everything works out well for you guys right now during 2016, these last days of 2016, and the coming days in 2017. Things have been rough, but stay strong, stay happy, stay hungry. Love everybody that's in your surroundings. Hopefully you guys are having a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year. This will probably be the last video that I post on my main channel for the year 2016, unless anything else comes up, which I really don't see happening. I'm not gonna have the time to make any other videos anyway, so anything that I'm making now will be for next year. And so yeah, hopefully you guys are doing very well. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and here's to a prosperous and happy 2017. Hopefully it's a hell of a lot better than what we've been through this year. So stay strong, and we'll get through this together. And let's keep talking more about video games next time, next year. And hopefully I'll see you guys there, along with a brand new posse of new subscribers in this big wild adventure that I'm going through right now. I'm really not finding the time to make these videos, but when I do, they're fun and they're good. And if not, I'll just stream something. Okay, I'm rambling. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.